The Volkswagen ID3 has just been updated and we're getting this one in Australia. But should you wait for it? And is it any good? Stay tuned and I'll give you the answers in this review. G'day, my name's Matt. This channel is called The Right Car and this is the Volkswagen ID3, the smallest electric model currently on sale from the Volkswagen brand. It's little, it's cute, and it's got pretty decent EV driving range. What it'll cost is anyone's guess, but stay tuned and I'll tell you everything you need to know about it so far in this review. Volkswagen Australia hasn't confirmed pricing for the ID3 just yet, but there is a bit of a precedent from the brand in terms of what you should expect. The Cupra Born, which is a bit more style focused, is $59,990 plus on-road costs. And it comes with fairly extensive standard equipment. This car probably will as well. You're going to expect LED lighting on the outside, big alloy wheels, a 12-inch touchscreen media system, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, some nice materials on the inside as well. And well, yeah, it's going to be pretty competitive, I reckon. But hey, tell me what price it should be. I'd love to hear your thoughts. When it comes to alternatives to the ID3, there are a few really good ones, including one that's very closely related to this. It's the Cupra Born. Hit the link at the top of your screen there, and you'll be able to check out my review of that electric hatchback. It's $60,000, has more than 500 Ks of range, and it's very impressive. I really like that car. Has a few differences to this. It's got a more powerful electric motor with a boost mode, and it looks different and feels very different on the inside, but I reckon in a good way. Would you pick it or this? Or would you pick one of the other alternatives I'm going to suggest now, including the MG4? Now, I did a review of it as well. You can hit the link up there and you'll be able to check it out, also in the description. I love that car. I reckon it's a very good but kind of minimalist option. If you're not into the bling factor and you're not really that fussed about wow when it comes to the interior, then it could be a really good choice for you. But it does offer an extensive model range, including a sub $40,000 entry version and one that's got more than 500 kilometers of range, and it's still like $55,000. So it's a pretty good value offering. There's another option, a fairly conventional one, the Tesla Model 3. It's really good, but everyone has one. So I don't know if that matters to you or not, but I'd prefer something that is maybe a little bit more design-led and a bit more iconic looking and a bit more usable on the inside. I don't like the single screen layout in the Model 3, but tell me what you think. If you own a Model 3, tell me why I'm wrong. Let's start a fight in the comments. The ID3 is way smaller than you probably think. It's just on 4.3 meters long, but because it's got this sort of tall roofline, it does kind of appear a bit boxier than some other hatchbacks out there. In fact, in my mind, because I'm a car guy and I love older cars, I think of the Volkswagen Golf Plus, you know, that old high top version from Europe a couple of years ago. We never got it in Australia, but it was kind of more like an MPV. And I'm okay with that because I'm a dork. All right. Let's check out the boot and see if it's big enough. Bit of a hark back to the old Golf with the handle on the badge, which is nice to see. So is the boot space. It's actually pretty big for a little tiny car like this. In fact, you'll see the figure on your screen now. That's very good. And there's also a hidden little storage section underneath the boot floor so you can store your cables or something like that, because it doesn't have a frunk, which isn't great because it really should be able to fit one. But I like the way that that stays up, so that means that it's easy access to underneath there. However, there is no spare tyre, so if that matters to you, you're out of luck because most EVs don't come with them. There's a couple of little pockets on the edges as well, some tie-down points and some shopping bag hooks too. So it's a pretty practical little hatchback, this one. This interior has seen some upgrades. The previous version of the ID3, which we never got in Australia, was really badly criticised for its finishes, materials, and its infotainment system. Look, I've still got issues with the infotainment system, but I'll get to that in a sec. The interior finishes, yeah, it's taken a big step up. I saw the last one sat in it, and this is much nicer. So you've got these nice trims on the doors, for instance. I don't know what spec this is. They haven't really given us much information on what we're driving, but hopefully we see something like this in Australia. This sort of fake leather, I believe it's fake, and this micro fleece or whatever they call it these days. It's like a Alcantara finish. It's really quite nice. You've also got some soft finishes on the dashboard, a nice squishy dashboard panel, if that matters to you, if you're the sort of person who fondles dashboards often. And there's a nice steering wheel cover as well. I don't love the controls on the steering wheel. They're a bit, well, annoying because they're haptic, so you can just sort of accidentally bump things quite easily when you're changing direction while you're steering or something like that. So that is a little bit annoying. I do like the little pop-up screen here. It's not actually a pop-up, it's just always there, but it does have pretty good information. Minimalist, but pretty good. And that's your shifter there as well, if you're wondering. So you twist it backwards to go backwards and forwards to go forwards. Funny that. Now the media screen, yes, let's talk about it. It has some issues, just like the other ID models. It could be better, and buttons and knobs and dials would help that. So you do get a little slider down here for volume controls. Yep. And you also get controls down here for your air conditioning, so you can adjust the temperature. But if you do want to adjust things more than just the temperature, you have to go into the climate system, and then you have to turn it on, and then you can adjust the fan or the air conditioning or whatever it may be. Heated seats and steering wheel in this spec as well. So it does have a few features that hopefully will transfer into the Australian market. Okay, so what about storage? Well, you've got this clever little sleeve down here, which you could put some knickknacks. You've got a couple of bottle holders or cup holders there, a little shelf or tray here, which is pretty cool. Wireless phone charger in there as well, and a massive tray between the seats too, which is great for a handbag or maybe laptop or something like that. You've also got USB-C ports down there to keep things charged up. Armrests for when you're charging yourself up or the car up, and that's nice to see because it does make for just a little bit more of a relaxed environment, a bit more lounge room than dining room, let's say. Let's check out the back seat. As is the case with a lot of small electric cars, the space inside is actually really quite good. So I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. This seat is set for my driving position, and as you can see, good knee room, okay toe room, my feet are big, decent headroom as well, which is good to see. And this car in particular is a 4-seater. Now, that's the case in some versions of the Cupra Born as well, but it does mean that it will limit the practicality if that's what we're getting in Australia. But I think they'll offer a 5-seater, which I personally would much more appreciate because, you know, I've got 2 dogs and I like to buckle them in, and a daughter as well. Speaking of which, we've got ISOFIX points on the window seats and 3 top tethers we will get in Australia. And also, hopefully we also get a flip down armrest with cup holders, which turns into a ski port, which is very handy. If you want to load longer items through, you can. And look, there's some pretty good amenities back here. You've got a couple of USB-C ports, you've got some nice storage pockets on the seats as well, but sadly no rear air vents, which I think is a bit of an issue, especially if you're going to choose this kind of car as a compact family car. Yeah, kids get hot in little cars that have black headliners like this car. So yeah, could be better. Hey, may I just say, this seat trim reminds me of the Volkswagen Scirocco from like a decade ago, and I like that. Rightio, let's talk charging. You've got a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack in this car, lithium ion, 400 volt architecture with AC and DC, as you would expect. AC, maximum charge rate, 11 kilowatts. So that means you can charge it up on 3-phase at home if you have it. And it should take about 8 hours from empty to full. And if you don't have 3-phase, you're looking a little bit longer than that. Now, DC charging, yep, got that as well. So it's the Type 2 combination plug. And you will see the rate, the maximum charging rate on your screen right now. It is pretty good. It's not necessarily the best you can get, but it means that you should be able to do something like 5 to 80% in half an hour or so. That's good enough, don't you think? There's not a whole lot to see under the bonnet of the ID3 because, well, it's got an electric motor at the back. It's a rear wheel drive. So it's 150 kilowatts, 310 Newton meters, rear wheel drive with a single speed transmission. And up front, well, just to show you, you've got some filters, you've got some fluids, and a battery, a 12-volt battery. So yeah, there's also batteries underneath the car, obviously. Look, I think 150 and 310 is pretty good for what I expect this car will cost. And it also means that it's pretty perky. So shall we go for a drive? It's almost weird to be driving a fully electric economy style hatchback on a really, really amazing road. This is the Grossglockner Pass in Austria. And look, the last time I drove on this road was also in a Volkswagen, but it was in a Golf GTI, and that felt a bit more fitting for this kind of road and for the kind of driving that you sometimes get the chance to do. It is plagued with cyclists and motorcyclists at the moment. So yeah, it's an interesting road for this car, but on the presumption that this will be a pretty affordable electric hatchback, then it does have a really nice point of difference. Being rear-wheel drive, and yeah, some of the other ones are, Cupra Born, MG4, they're both rear-wheel drive, and they're both really good to drive as a result of that. And that's the promise that this car offers as well, because it is more fun to drive than a front-wheel drive electric hatchback, for instance. It does have enough grunt, and it's pretty quick. Look, it's not light, but it is quick. And so it does have a nice acceleration to it, and also the handling is pretty good. Yes, you can feel the weight of the battery pack underneath you, but it's got the rear-wheel drive layout, so it has that feeling of pushing you towards the horizon rather than pulling you towards it. But it also has just a really nice balance in terms of ride comfort. Obviously, it's got adaptive chassis control, so you can change the way that it behaves in terms of firmness or softness. We've got it set on the middle setting at the moment, and it's doing a really good job of handling the bumps. At times you can feel that it is just a little bit pitter-pattery, but it's not bad at all. One thing I will say though is that the brake pedal feel does take some getting used to. It's got a bit of a squishy action at the top of the pedal. So when you do get a chance to test drive one, if you want to, then you'll notice that you just have to be a little bit measured with the way that you apply the brake. It's got all that safety technology as well. And look, I've had to turn off the lane keeping assistance today because it is a little bit overbearing. This is fun. This is a good little car. When it comes to efficiency, you'll see the official number on your screen now. That's the WLTP, kilowatt hours per 100 Ks number. And just like petrol and diesel engines, the lower the number, the better. And look, we haven't seen quite that good on this test drive. We're driving in the mountains, so you're never ever gonna see really good efficiency figures in that sort of scenario, but you'll see on screen now what I saw. Tell me what you reckon in the comments. I reckon the Volkswagen ID3 is going to be a fantastic option for buyers if it's priced right. Look, if it's more than 60 grand, I'd be thinking twice. But if it's closer to 50, then it could be really, really compelling. Tell me what you think. What price do you think the ID3 should be when it arrives in Australia? And how important is EV driving range to you? I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit like. It helps a lot. And I'll see you in the next one.